Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Russ Boreham. I'm a Strategic Account Director here at Automation Anywhere. I have the privilege this afternoon of talking to you a little bit about the work that's going on across the NHS with intelligent automation. The NHS is one of our top 5 strategic customers across Europe for Automation Anywhere. We have a long-standing relationship with a number of trusts, some of which I'll talk about today. And this is an opportunity really just to understand a little bit more about what is happening across this space. And I will share my screen, share a few slides with you, and then be available for anybody that wants to ask any follow-up questions or anything afterwards. You'll have all my contact details as part of this demo. So this is a non-technical demo. We're not going to go into a lot of technical detail, but we are going to talk about what's happening broadly across the NHS, what some organisations are doing, where automation can add value to patients and staff experience, things like that. And I want to just start by making sure we're all on the same page about what it is that we're actually talking about today. And I think when we speak to a lot of NHS organisations, the concept of resource utilisation and capacity management is not new. But in the face of where we are effectively now, this post-pandemic recovery, we see a lot of trusts ask us how they can free up staff to focus on more value-added activity, and particularly with the need to clear a significant backlog of elective care, and to do so within very tight financial constraints. We see a new concept that's coming forward that we call intelligent automation, or you may hear it referred to as robotic process automation. And really what we're talking about here is augmenting your existing staff with technology. So where you have your substantive staff, really the heart and soul of the NHS that work there full-time, with bank and agency staff supporting them, this new concept that's coming in is what we refer to as digital workers, really. And when we talk about digital workers, what we're really talking about are little pieces of software that can sit either on a laptop or your desktop. You can put them on a cloud, you can put them on a server, it doesn't really matter. And the software is simply designed to mimic human activity on a computer, but to do so very consistently and predictably up to 24 hours a day without taking any breaks or making mistakes. And what that means is that we can give very transactional, administrative, clerical work to digital workers and free up more time for our substantive workers or our bank and agency staff to go and deliver better outcomes for patients and for staff as well. And there's a few ways in which we can do this across both corporate services and clinical services. And I'll show you in a couple of different ways what we mean. So when we're looking at automation, where should we be looking? Right, that's the first thing. So I tend to break this down into 4 main areas. The top one being what I would call leverage items, because we have some processes that really genuinely have an impact across an entire organisation or entire trust. And if we leverage the full scale of these processes, then we can have quite a sizable impact very quickly. So examples of this, if you're setting up new users and systems, or if you're like Newcastle upon Time Hospitals have done, uploaded the staff appraisal data into ESR, they have a robot that does that for them now. That touches every single member of staff across their organisation. Same with things like running payroll. And it's thinking about what are the tasks that the entire organisation is touched by, that might be owned by your department, might be owned by other departments. But if we can start automating some of those, we'll have a significant impact. And then the second thing is strategic items. So these are the tasks that typically make us the best place to work in the NHS, for example. So if you were in HR and workforce, then the idea of automating processes that relate to onboarding and offboarding, or again, setting up people in systems, or identity access management, automated reporting, those tasks help create a better staff experience, right? And we're aiming for the best staff experience. And if we do more and more of these, it frees up our time. And my chief HR officer, a lady called Nancy Hauge, very inspirational lady, She runs quite a few webinars, so please feel free to check them out. But she has this concept of an if-only list. And the way that she explains it is, if only I didn't have to do this task, I'd have time to do X. And what we're trying to understand is, what is X for you as a, as a manager, as a leader, as a member of staff in your organization? What would you have time to do if you didn't have to do the administrative and clerical roles that you do now? And then there are non-critical items. It's probably a little unfair to call them that, but things that we have to do or really, really want to do, but don't necessarily have the time to do today. And the question I often ask organizations is, what would you do with 50 extra staff that you didn't have to pay for? So what are the tasks you never have time to complete today, but would love to? And the one that always comes up in the NHS is around cleansing systems that have old and erroneous data in them. So things like, if a member of staff was going to join our organization but then didn't, do we still have their record on our central workforce management system, ESR or other? Can we clean out some of that data? Can we update people's equality and diversity information? Can we trawl through and try and understand where people are on systems they don't need to be? All of those kinds of things. And then the final one is bottleneck items. So what are the things that are stopping you from being as productive as you could be? So daily SITREP reporting springs to mind. Reporting generally, to be fair, is a massive bugbear for a lot of organizations. So if we can automate a vast majority of that, and there are organizations that are doing this very successfully today. One organization that we're working with has automated about 35 different reports for HR and workforce now. And effectively what we do is, their staff will come in the morning, the robots have been working overnight to run all the reports, their staff come in and all of the reports are there for them in their inbox, waiting to be processed. And it's those things that we can get rid of, if you like, eliminate from your day-to-day activities and help to free up time to focus on those more important tasks. Now, from a wider perspective, I think it's useful for you to understand what's going on across the NHS nationally. And a key part of this is being driven out of NHSX and what's known as the Digital Productivity Programme. And this is the kind of second key point to take away from these slides. So this Digital Productivity Programme has been running for about 12 to 18 months now. And it's a key part of a long-term plan where we're moving to a digital by default or digital first agenda, where organizations are really looking at ways to streamline and automate processes, both short, medium and long term. So I think the idea that we're moving towards a digital way of working is becoming natural now. And NHSX ran a large national survey to try and understand really where organizations were on their journey and what they were doing. And about 170 organizations responded, and 60% of which were said that they were exploring or were already implementing and experimenting with RPA. And 32% of respondents also said that they were either maturing or they already were at an advanced level of using RPA. So that means there's only about 7 to 8% of organizations that weren't planning on doing a project with automation, with this, intelligent automation. And the reason was that there was a lack of financial resources to get started, but also a lack of information relating to benefits and what organizations were doing. And one of the key pieces of information that came out of this survey was that there was a lack of support generally from vendors around how organizations, regardless of size, complexity, maturity, actually drive and deliver outcomes. There's a lot of organizations that will very, very happily sell you software. There's only a very small number of organizations that will actually make sure that you deliver value. So we really took that to heart. We've been shaping up over the past couple of years our offering to the NHS. And what we found was that it's had quite a substantial impact in the way organizations are adopting this technology. So initially what we saw is that organizations in different regions were adopting automation point by point, organization by organization, very locally focused, intrinsic, fair enough, focused on what they can deliver for them, what they can be delivering internally to deliver value, demonstrate results. And I think that's absolutely fair. But over time, what we've now seen is that actually with the right support and the right communication channels, those individual organizations have started working with other organizations in their systems. So there's little pockets of systems now that are all working together to say, okay, well, maybe we have a lead trust or a lead organization in our system, in our ICS, that works together, that takes the lead and shows the collaborative elements that we can all then adopt. So templates, architecture, skills, resources, all of those things come together. So we're seeing a lot of that now. But actually now it's going one step further, and we're seeing actually within regions, whole regions are coming together and saying, well, can we adopt this as a region? Can we find a roadmap of processes that we want to automate, whether it's around elective care, corporate services, whatever it may be, and start delivering this at a bigger scale? And that's now started happening as well. So we've been very fortunate to be at the forefront of those conversations, and we've been involved in conversations across a whole variety of organizations. And I've pulled out a little spattering of customers here so you can get a feel for the types of organizations we work with. So we're working with everybody from big trusts, the biggest trusts, the Manchesters, the Newcastles, the Shelford Group trusts, through to district general hospitals. So some of which are doing exceedingly well. Northampton General Hospital, for example, is an NHSX National Centre of Excellence. We work with community healthcare providers like Kent Community Health and MLCO. We're working with special arm's length bodies like NHS Professionals, who we have an exclusive relationship with. And we work with central government bodies as well. So along with having a relationship with NHSX, NHS Improvement and others, we're seeing that more and more organisations are looking to adopt this technology. But one of the big reasons is not because they just buy the technology and hope that it's successful. It's because they buy into the idea of what we're working towards, which is the fact that we're looking to build a community around automation. So for us, what that means is that we host regularly monthly virtual roundtables with Northampton, for example. We have a quarterly user group that gets together and meets. So all of these organizations, different stakeholders from different departments share ideas, talk about what's challenging them, talking about what's going well, talking about the support that they need. We have an annual customer experience event that all of the NHS can attend free of charge. And they can come along and hear from other organizations in different industries, whether it's pharma and bio life sciences or retail or central government or whatever it may be. They can hear from other industries and get other ideas. We also have dedicated online chat forums so that people can get together through invite-only forums. So away from prying eyes and the worries of the world, we can talk openly about how we can make this successful as possible. And then we have a huge repository of reusable templates and assets that all of these organizations are sharing together and with us to help organizations to get started and adopt this technology. And as I said, it's been quite a journey over the past couple of years, and I mean that genuinely. And we've learned a lot, to be fair. And I wanted to share a couple of those key learnings with you. One of which was genuinely just buying software on its own doesn't deliver value. Right? I mentioned that a little bit earlier, but the way that we tackle that is to make sure that organizations have support to actually get started to adopt the technology beyond buying the licenses. And I've tried to break this up into the core areas of organizations that typically look at automation. And the first one is around the Centre of Excellence. So when you're working with Automation Anywhere, you can expect, if you're in the Centre of Excellence, these are the kinds of things that we provide to you as part of your offer, or part of our offering to the NHS, but free benefits assessment workshops. So actually working with the Centre of Excellence to go and communicate and engage with lines of departments. So HR, finance, IT, patient administration services, clinical offerings, whether it's a particular specialism or outpatients, for example, actually understand what is the benefit of them adopting automation for their processes. What does that look like? What's the ROI of that? The return on investment. What's it going to cost? How many processes do they have? How complex are they? So actually working with them to understand that level of detail so that the Centre of Excellence can focus on what it's there to do, right? Which is design and build and deliver value through automation. Similarly with things like scaling labs, so understanding how do you move from having a startup of a automation group to actually growing into something a bit more mature, making sure they have the right foundations in place, putting in place customer journey maps, providing maturity assessments. And also, I think one of the big things that we found was that it's not just about throwing policies and templates at people, but actually giving them human interaction around customer success. So we have a dedicated customer success manager for every single one of our NHS customers, right? Because we genuinely are dedicated to the success of this program, this initiative, whatever you want to call it. So we want to make sure that away from commercial salespeople like myself, we actually have customer success managers who are only measured on the net promoter score of organizations that we work with. And we also have regional technical account management as well. So when tickets get raised, we have individuals who jump in and make sure that you have the support that you deserve. If you're a technical user, then away from those bits, you might get involved in some of that, but you're also probably a little bit more interested in the design and the development and maintenance of these robots. So we have an online self-service university that people can access. And if they want to take it to the next level, then there's also the option of having unlimited instructor-led training via our learning subscription. So every month we run a 3 to 4 day learning program. And during that learning program, anybody with a learning subscription can come along, they can join in. Now, the nice thing is, if you have to drop out for any reason, if you maybe didn't pick up everything you wanted to pick up, you can keep joining these learning programs. So every month we run at least one. And then you can just keep joining them, get access to a trainer, get access to people doing this. Similarly, if you're looking to adopt a piece of the platform that you're not quite sure of, right? If it's document processing, if it's augmenting staff with robots rather than just putting robots on servers, then we can run proof of concepts and pilots. We do bi-weekly learning labs. We look at all of these topics in detail to make sure you have the right skills and the awareness of what actually is the capability of this software. Similarly, we do have what we call a bot store, but the concept being that if you could see me, I would hold up my mobile phone and I would kind of say, well, the thing for me that moved a mobile phone from being a great piece of tech, right, a phone that you can walk around with, fascinatingly complex, but from that to a genuinely indispensable personal companion is the invention of app stores and the ability to download apps, whether they're free or paid. Being able to get more apps to add more functionality to your phone was an absolute game changer. And we've done the same thing with robots. So I'll talk you through in a second what that looks like, but the private bot store, so we have two versions. One is completely public, anybody can access, and there's more than 1,000 pre-built bots in that, and a private bot store only for the NHS. And that's effectively locked down so that when you become a customer, you get access to all the bots, all the templates and everything that goes into that. Similarly, we will do guided botathons for developers. We will sit down and guide a team of developers through the process of creating their first bots, right? And bearing in mind, this is all on top of what you're doing yourselves. So there's a huge amount of support for the Centre of Excellence and technical users. But if you're in the line of business, if you're a HR manager or a finance director and you're trying to understand what it means for you, well, we will very happily work with you to understand your business case. But similarly, we will run what we call builder bot sessions. So we've done this in entire finance teams where 100 finance stakeholders have come along to sessions and built their first bot in less than an hour. Or they've come and they've attended mixed reality rooms. So we have a conference capability where you can attend a mixed reality, like a little bit like digital avatars, where you can come and walk around and meet people and learn what's going on in your organization, come and learn what's going on in the wider NHS. And additionally, I think one of the key things that I always wanted to understand is, as an end user of this software, what does it mean for you? Well, if something goes wrong or if you need support, we have an always-on capability for support, 24/7, 365 days a year. There's always somebody to support you with very clearly defined service level agreements. So if you submit a ticket, someone will respond within a certain time frame. You're guaranteed that you'll get the right level of response. And we also have citizen developer training. So without having to become a developer, you can learn how to record processes, map them out, and actually be a very active member of the automation community in your organization. And this kind of takes away from one of the key arguments, which is, if automation is owned by IT, then a department will always be at the back of the queue. Well, with citizen developer training, that's not actually necessary. You can start automating some of your more simple processes, and you can also start mapping out a lot of your processes on the recorders so that you can feed that into the center of excellence and they can get to you a lot quicker. Okay. Now, reusability is a massive part of this, and as I mentioned around the bot store, this kind of gives you an idea of what that looks like. But our global bot store, which you can see on the left-hand side, has more than 1,000 pre-built bots in it, right? So if you just think about that for a second, that's quite a big number of templates that you can go in, you can have a look at, you can understand why have people built these in that way? Is there anything very, very quick and easy that you can get up and running? In addition to that, we have a huge amount of templates that are available for the NHS. And on the right-hand side, I've called out some of the key things that we're making available across all organizations. So use cases, right? First and foremost, where and when can you get started in departments? So all of the ideas that people are coming up with, specifically with the context of the NHS in mind, process design documentation. So when organizations are building out their process designs, their as is process maps and their to be solution designs, understanding what that might look like, and also their solution designs. So if there's things that are built in for clinical processes, how are they doing that with clinical safety in mind? Business case templates, funding application templates, we do a lot around this. So helping organizations to apply for national funding that's available, for example. Communication plans, job adverts, little things that take up time. We're just trying to make as easy as possible for you. So what does a job spec for a good RPA business analyst or developer look like? Without having to go and reinvent the wheel, we should have all of these things to hand. And all organizations should be able to access these things. But specifically, bot templates is a big one. So what is it that people are working on that you could reuse very, very quickly? And I've got a couple of slides to describe this at a high level. One is what I call the plan of record. So if I went to and asked our top maybe half a dozen organizations, trusts that we're working with, and I asked them, if you could give a new organization a list of things that have already been through all stages, so been through design, it's been through development, it's been through testing, it's been through change control, and is now live in your organization, what is it that you'll be able to offer? And these are the key things that came back. And this is not an exhaustive list, but it's representative of what is available. So you can see quite a lot of bots for HR and workforce. I've listed about 30 here. It's quite a key area. Lots of quick wins are available around HR and workforce. Similarly with finance, less in terms of templates, but more impactful in terms of processes. So some organizations are out there doing this right now. Manchester, for example, has a public case study around invoice processing and matching. They've implemented our platform for that end-to-end piece, which from their business case perspective, there's about 30 people involved in that process today. And that obviously gives them a great opportunity to realize benefits. So as people naturally leave the organization, as people want to retrain, as they want to move into other roles, there's a great opportunity for cost improvement there, as well as service improvement to end users, paying suppliers faster, for example. Around our IT, there's a lot of work going on around onboarding and offboarding. In clinical, there's a lot of work that's already taking place around service provision for patients, 2-week waits, bookings, and oxygen tracking and things like that. Automation Anywhere has also, we've invested in building no-code templates for things like Epic systems. So getting patient details out of Epic is now drag and drop. Getting all of all appointments for patients is a drag and drop item. So you don't have to do any coding for this. And in the platform itself, our entire business model is to be business centric. So I'm not a deep technical person, and if you haven't worked that out by now, you surely will. But I don't have to rely on a developer to do any of my bot building. I build all my own bots in Automation Anywhere, and I have a range of bots that run for Salesforce, which is our key CRM, and other items. And I think if I can do it, genuinely, I think most people can. And then, of course, there's a bit of a plan of what I call plan of direction. So where are we heading with this? So a lot around corporate services again, as you'd expect, a bit more of everything. And this is what's happening between now and the end of this financial year. So you can see quite a lot for you to get started with. But a key thing, and if I wiggle my mouse down the bottom here, I don't know if you can see that, but we have a huge number of clinical, general and outpatient type processes that are coming as part of the elective care recovery initiative. So patient booking, scheduling, referrals, patient communications, advice and guidance, pre-appointment checks, and massive amounts of stuff. So really, really excited about that. There's a massive business case for this nationally. We're working very, very closely with some key centres of excellence for this and NHSX to make sure that what we're building on this initiative regionally then becomes available nationally. So huge amounts of work going into that. Very proud of our partnerships in this area. We'll happily share further details. Please do ping me and I'll let you know a little bit more about what's going on with that. And of course, this is all lovely, right? But you need to be able to get your hands on it and illustrate and articulate what that means to particular departments. So we have directorate-specific use cases for this. So here's one example. And we have these for HR workforce, as you can see, but also finance, IT, procurement, clinical. So depending on who you're speaking to, working with, there's a storyboard here, effectively, right? If we look at the top, what's this, 7 to 8 different areas of HR workforce. What are the top 6 or so processes for each of those areas? Now imagine if you started automating these, how quickly they would start seeing value. Okay. And there's a great story here. There's a huge amount of work that's going on across the NHS, and it's led to some remarkable accolades. So one example I wanted to share with you, Newcastle upon Tyne Hospitals, absolutely over the moon for these guys. Earlier this year, they were nominated for IDC's Future of Work Awards 2021, and they actually won the category for Best Augmented Workforce. So what that means is that now the NHS is starting to get pan-European recognition for their work with robotic process automation. And of course, that kind of puts us in a different category because IDC is one of the biggest industry analysts out there. And this is actually all based around Newcastle's desire to be the best employer in the NHS and to provide the best employee experience for their staff. And this is one example. So the first bot that they built was around inputting annual appraisal data for about 16,000 staff into ESR, their central workforce management system, and the central workforce management system for the NHS. The manual process took about 30 minutes, 25 on a good day, a little bit longer on a bad day. But the big thing was that staff were finding it very, very cumbersome because if you're a line manager, as the new pay progression scheme came into place in April, was it 2020 now? All of a sudden, every member of staff wanted their appraisal data to be logged in ESR so that they could become eligible for an incremental pay increase. So you can imagine, right, there's a huge amount of pressure then put on line managers who have to find half an hour per employee to start doing this. So Newcastle's solution to this was fantastic. They built a front-end web portal, and that collated information through a simple web form. So managers can now just copy and paste the information into a web form, which took about a minute. So very light approach. Now, on the back end of this, there was a robot. So one of these intelligent automation robots, which would pick up the information from the web form, log into ESR with a smart card, navigate through to the user screen. So go through the user screen, find the staff profile. It would actually then take all the information from web form and put it into the staff record. And it would then send an email to let the line manager know that had been done. So you can imagine all of a sudden the service experience has gone up considerably. And there was some immediate benefits in terms of time saving across the entire organization. So they're giving time back to heads of service, heads of HR, heads of finance. So, you can imagine like a chief nursing officer suddenly getting hours of time back or days of time back in some cases. But the big point was that actually it was very easy for staff to interact with. So 0 mistakes, because a robot it doesn't make transpose errors, it doesn't make schoolboy mistakes like that. So the reputation for staff and managers of the service that HR and workforce were providing went up significantly. And they're now expanding this out to quite a few processes across HR and workforce where this program sits and still lives, but also into other areas, into clinical services, into IT and other areas. Okay. And this is just one example of some of the fantastic work that is going on out there. So how do you get started? Well, I think there's a fairly compelling reason to get started, which is that there's currently funding available from NHSX. So we will very happily have an informal, very, very straightforward conversation with you about what your current situation is. Have you been looking at this for a while? Have you no idea what we're talking about, right? Doesn't matter to us where you are, we'll happily help. And we need to understand where you are in your journey and what your key objectives are. It's different for everybody. We need to try and understand if there's some genuine opportunities that we can focus on short term, either reusing work other people have done or looking at your organization and understanding what's the best fit for you. And then agreeing a plan. How do we engage with people to make this happen? Okay. Because we've got until the end of November to apply for some free money, effectively. NHSX has put aside millions of pounds to help organizations to adopt intelligent automation. And that's matched funding. So any organization puts in some money to get started, NHSX will match it up to £250,000, which is a considerable amount of money. But we have a very short window, only a couple of weeks to actually do this. So we have to build the business case. So we need to identify the processes that support that, and we need to confirm that they're valid. So we do need to run some analysis around those. We can do the lion's share of the legwork around this. We have capacity, we're ready to go. We've been doing it for the past 2 months. So we've got a really good idea of what makes a successful application. And we need to build that business case because it needs to get forward. We need to start moving it forward for approval whilst we piece together the application for the funding. So we can start collating all of this information very, very quickly, very light touch in terms of your staff, right? Very non-invasive. Everybody's incredibly busy, overworked, to be fair, stretched. Adding more pressure on them is not a good look. So we understand that. We've got a lot of templates around this for business case templates, applications for funding templates, and we can help you to get your project plan and everything up and running by the end of this month. And probably a good first step to doing this might actually be for you to come and meet with Northampton General Hospital, who are, as I said, one of the national centres of excellence for this. So I will be hosting a session with Vinay Mistry and Tremaine Richard Noel. Tremaine is the head of emerging technology for Northampton, and Vinay is the process discovery and validation lead. So we all work very closely together to look at some of these core programs around elective care recovery, corporate services automation, and Tremaine and Vinay will be sharing their experiences of what they're up to, what's going well, how organizations can get started, and how you can actually work with Northampton to get started as a centre of excellence. Okay, so if you're interested, please do register. You can see the hyperlink at the bottom here. It's events.automationanywhere.com/the future of NHS 24 NOV. So it's on the 24th of November, 11 till 12. We don't record these sessions. It is typically a closed group, so we cap it at about 11 or 12 participants, so that we can have a good level of discussion and people don't get overwhelmed. And that tends to work very well. We run these monthly. So the next one's coming up next week, 24th of November. We'd love to see you there. Hopefully this has been a useful overview of what's happening across the NHS. There is a lot of information here. We're scratching the surface. So if you'd like to talk about a particular area, or if you've got some questions, I'd love to help. Please do let me know. You can contact me via email. I'm on russ.boreham@automationanywhere.com. Thank you very much for your time. I do appreciate it. I hope you have a great day. And I look forward to speaking with you soon, and hope to be part of your journey. Thanks very much. Take care.